Hi folks, Puffin here with a video about being in love. I'm all about being in love. And there's a lot to say about it, but I'm going to focus on a few different things in this video. One, the greatest thing about being in love, or one of the greatest things about being in love. Two, crushes, including celebrity crushes. Three, self-love. So the greatest thing about being in love, or one of the greatest things, is when you're in love with somebody and they're in love with you, you see the best things in each other and just make each other better in a consistent way. You're always like improving who and what you are, and how you feel about yourselves and how you feel about each other. Um, that's just one of the greatest things about being in love, and what makes it so great to be in love with somebody who's in love with you. But if you're in love with somebody and they're not in love with you, or you're in love with somebody that doesn't even know who you are, like a celebrity crush, if you have a crush or a celebrity crush, then um, it can feel like that's not a good thing because, well, they're not in love with you, so you don't get that. It's not as good, obviously, but it's still good. It's not a bad thing because as long as you can move on, if as long as you don't hold on to it and uh, it becomes hurtful, then it's a good thing to have to feel the potential for love and feel like, oh, you know, I could be in love with that person. So as much as I'm all about being in love, and I fall in love at the drop of a hat or the drop of a dime, or fall in love in a heartbeat, um, I don't fall in love that often because I might have crushes on people I see on TV or something, but I don't fall in love that often because I'm very different, and I don't encounter people that I even imagine would relate to me like that very often. But I've had a very unique experience recently when I had fallen in love with someone years ago, and then I saw that person's videos just recently, and so of course it reminded me of the love, but it was kind of the reverse of what you might imagine if you have like a celebrity crush. Because if you imagine a celebrity crush as someone that you would, actually date, like I had a dream that I dated Nicki Minaj one day or one night. The dream was that we were on a day long date. Anyway, uh, if you imagine that you would date someone that you had a crush on from seeing them, in the media, but they don't know who you are, um, there's some sort of idea that, well, that's foolish because you wouldn't, how do you know that you would really like them? Because you've just seen them, and of course, people do play characters or whatever uh, in the media, but my experience was that seeing a video of someone who wasn't talking to me, that they were just talking to the audience, still reminded me of that same feeling of love. Now it was the same feeling of love as a crush. If it had been someone you had a relationship with, and it and you it reminded you of that love, that could make you sad or something if you'd actually had a relationship with them, to be able to only see the video. But since all I ever had was a crush, it never turned into a relationship or anything. Um, I it felt just as good as the crush. It was like, wow, seeing this video, or it felt good in a very similar way as the crush. It felt like a good thing. It reminded me of love. So, and that there was also some content, something she said about her favorite poet, Hafiz, who had fallen in love with a woman, and then she didn't love him, but he then fell in love with the world, and that's what made him write his poetry, which is what made her and millions of other people fall in love with him through his poetry. And so that seemed to be like encapsulated in what was going on. That um, I was falling in love through the video, and it made me think about how many times that happens, or how much that happens, and how sometimes it happens and turns into people's actual love as well. Um, and that's fantastic. So that's back to point one, where the best thing about being in love is people can actually love each other and improve their lives by being in love with each other, and that's just the greatest. Now, uh, you have to have some self-love to make a video. You have to, and a lot of people don't have that, and so then that's sad. Like, the saddest thing is that in our society, people are mostly afraid of love. Like, it's, I think, maybe the biggest fear that we have. And I can hear people say, well, no, that's not the biggest fear people have. People are afraid of being poor, or people are afraid of the things that go along with being poor. And it's like, well, yeah, and people pretty much live their lives based in America. Most people are poor, and they live their lives, afraid of what's associated with being poor, and we live our lives uh, afraid of things like the more poor we are, the more we have to be afraid of. Or so people who even aren't poor are still afraid of becoming poor or whatever. So that's what people seem to be afraid or act like they're most afraid of. Underlying that, I think people are afraid of love, because while that whole poverty thing has got people working all sorts of jobs or doing all sorts of things to make money and not be poor. When I say people are afraid of love, well, how many types of love can people have that deal with their fear of not being loved or fear of love? In our society, they prescribe and limit and say, oh, you can only have this type of love, you can only have this type of love, and also convince people that love is rare and hard to find, stuff like that. And it becomes that way. We can change that. We can have a different society, and we'll have a different society by being more in love. But one of the types of love that our society prohibits so much, or shames people out of, is just self-love. And so it reminded me of self-love. It's like, well, I make a lot of videos, and I do love myself. I love feeling like someone loves me too. And the greatest again is to be able to be in love with someone. But it reminds me that there's a lot of that. It's growing. It's chipping away at them saying that people can't be in love. And we're all kind of doing that together. But it also reminds me that it happens throughout time, that people do things out of the yearning for love or out of expressions of love that people then respond to at later times. And so that's one great way that all people now making more videos, things like this, making more art and creative expressions, music and stuff, writing more things. All this stuff is able to take over and change the way things are, so that we are more in love, and that love is more the way things are instead of the rare exception. And it does really start with ourselves. So it reminds me to feel better about what I'm doing, and to love myself more through what I'm doing, or to think about that experience of love that you are showing yourself just by caring to share your experience with others, or with yourself at a later date, whatever it is. And how it connects with people throughout time, that it's the same love that people can experience in so many different ways. And so to have restricted it and say there's only some ways or only one way is bad, but it just means that there's all these different ways to go around that, and to say, wait, no, there's these millions of ways of love. And I'm just very encouraged, I guess I should say, and encouraged by feeling like, instead of waiting for someone to personally provide that encouragement, to feel like I'm getting that encouragement from people in different ways, even through just interacting with their characters. That gets back to these celebrity crushes. I think one good thing about celebrity crushes is, even if you're imagining people that, yeah, most likely you're not going to meet those people, or hopefully you do. That would be awesome. And hopefully when you do, you start a relationship. That'd be great too, But even if you don't, chances are, maybe odds are, since so many people feel that way, how many people do people have time to have a relationship with? Then odds are you're not going to have that relationship, but you're at least developing in yourself what you like. You're recognizing, oh yeah, I like this about people, and I like that about people. So highly encouraged, I mean, and again, not to the point of prohibiting you from developing a real crush or developing real love with somebody that you would meet in real life. But all the different ways we interact with people, through media, through screens and stuff, if that can lead to love, good, go for it. That sounds great. And again, just uh, the the eventual love that all of it can help grow is your love for yourself. If you're in love with somebody and they're in love with you, that's going to improve your love for yourself. You're going to feel really good about yourself, and you're going to, you know, feel and do better based on feeling good. So again, that's kind of where I feel like we live in an evil system that's against that, that wants to prevent the good things that can happen if more of us are in love and doing the things we can do in love. So it's a radical, revolutionary #pillow revolution. We can do it in bed. Um, thing to do just to be ourselves more and be better us's that we can do with the love that we can share with each other in all the different ways we can. So thanks for exploring some of that with me here in this video. Love you forever. See you soon.